Have you been labeled as a strong Black woman and surprised by the numbness you feel inside? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Real Talk with Dr. D. My name is Dr. Leslie Davis, and I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor in Illinois, and I specialize as a relationship therapist. I love talking to Black women, especially Black single moms, about our experiences. And today I'm going to share a little bit about my experience with depression before I knew I was depressed. So just the other day, I was going through some pictures of mine and I found a picture of myself with my son, and I was probably around the age of 23 or 24. And looking at that photo, I had a smile on my face, but I looked at my eyes, and what I noticed as who I am today, looking back at my former self, was that I was actually depressed and I didn't know it. And no one else in my life at that time knew that I was experiencing any of the symptoms of depression. So if you can relate to this, I want you to listen up. Let's talk about some of the symptoms and signs that you might be experiencing depression. The first thing that comes to mind is this perceived sadness. You might experience sadness that kind of takes over your body where it feels kind of heavy. It feels like you don't want to do anything, which might cause you to isolate. So maybe your friends and family are inviting you places and you decline any invitation because you just don't want to be around people. So isolation is one of those symptoms. You might also notice changes in your sleeping patterns. So maybe you are wanting to sleep more than what you usually need to because you're just always tired and you can't get enough rest. Or maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night or having a hard time falling asleep. So sleep disturbance is another symptom of depression. Maybe you're experiencing stomach issues where you feel nauseous or nervous and butterflies in your stomach, and it never seems to go away. That could also be a sign of depression, but it also is related to anxiety. You might experience tension in your body. So if you're carrying a lot of weight mentally and emotionally, you might notice that your shoulders creep up. And if you're sitting like this for hours on end throughout the day, you might start to notice that you have tension in your neck and your shoulders and your back, and it never seems to go away no matter what you do. So that is another physical symptom of depression. But the biggest piece I want to talk about today is isolation and how we are still able to function with our depression. The rates of depression among Black women are not quite accurate, and I'll tell you why. Now, as strong Black women, we can show up and do what we need to do because we're expected to do those things. Again, with functional depression, we are experiencing symptoms of depression, but we're still able to get things done. And we show up in the way that no one would ever guess that we're going through depression and depression symptoms on our own. We tend to silence ourselves because we don't want people to know that we're struggling, or we don't want to ask for help, or sometimes we don't tell our stories because we don't feel like we'll be believed. If you've experienced that, I want you to know and I want to encourage you that you can tell your story. There might be someone that needs to hear your story to know that they're also not alone. That experience of depression can make us sometimes feel like it's a lonely experience. And when that happens, when it's a repeated pattern of loneliness and also combined with depression, that can lead to thoughts of wanting to harm yourself or wanting to harm others. So I encourage you to speak up and ask for help. Strong Black women show up every day to do what we need to do, especially single moms. Single moms who are taking care of their babies, who are going to work and doing all the things that they need to do to be boss women or to be a friend or to be a sister, to be a caretaker, whatever the role is. Sometimes we have to put ourselves on the back burner. We don't always get a chance to show our true selves. We don't get a chance to reveal our truth. And it's scary to do that sometimes. I don't know if this has been your experience, but if you've ever tried to tell someone that you're depressed, maybe you were welcomed in that experience. But sometimes when we try to tell our truth, people won't believe us and they will kind of push it to the side and say, well, girl, it's going to be okay. You're all right. Just keep going. We might hear encouragement, but we can't accept it in the moment because our pain is so deep. And maybe we've experienced that pain for so long that any sign of joy is not believable to us. That's part of that symptom of depression where the isolation kicks in, where we can't accept the love from others. And all that does is keeps us disconnected. Depression keeps us disconnected. Functional depression keeps us disconnected because no one knows what we're going through. No one knows our pain. No one knows that we're struggling on the inside, that we're at home at night crying by ourselves, that we're asking God for help, for any sign of help or any sign of relief. No one knows because we're not being honest. We're just going through the motions. We're putting a smile on our faces. We're still showing up for work. We're still showing up for our kids. We're still showing up for all the roles that we have in our life. But deep down, we are hurting. And if this is you, I want to encourage you today that you can stop. You don't have to keep going this way. You can get help. Find a therapist, number one. The second thing you can do is to look towards community. If you don't have a supportive family, sometimes we have to find family and create it for ourselves. And that could be community through sports or through some activity that you like to do and finding others who like to do those same things. Sometimes it's finding community with other single moms that understand the experience that you're going through. Another way to gain support if you're struggling with functional depression is to share your story online. You might be surprised by someone who comments or sends you a private message to say, hey, girl, I get it. I've been there. And I'm here to tell you, hey, girl, I know I've been there. It's okay to speak up. And I'll tell you this, looking back at my experience, I wish I would have said something. I wish I would have spoken up and told someone that I'm sad, that I'm lonely, that I'm crying at night, that I'm scared. I'm scared of what could happen next. I wish I would have said those things to someone that I could trust, because if I had done that, I probably would not have experienced functional depression longer than what I did. So I encourage you today to step up, show up for yourself, show up for your child, show up for your loved ones, whoever they may be, and take the step and get help.